A young couple, Jake and Sarah Harper, live in a small town in the USA. They are friends with Mary, the owner of the local Mary's Diner. Mary is a kind and smiling woman who always welcomes her visitors. Jake and Sarah often stop by the diner after work to drink coffee and discuss the events of the day. They have known Mary for many years and consider her a part of their lives. Jake and Sarah met at work when they got a job at the same company. This happened at the beginning of their career, when they were full of enthusiasm and striving for success. They were lucky to work in the same office, and this was the starting point for their friendship. They quickly found a common language, as they were both energetic and loved to discuss new projects and ideas. One day, Jake invited Sarah to have lunch together. They often had lunch at the same cafe, but that day they decided to try something new. Jake remembered that there was a diner nearby called Mary's and suggested we go there. Sarah agreed, and they went to this cozy place. Mary's Diner was located in a quiet corner of the city. They noticed a sign with an image of delicious dishes and decided to take a look inside. It was warm and cozy inside, with soft lighting and wooden tables. There were photographs on the walls, and the scent of freshly baked bread and grilled meat wafted in the air. Jake and Sarah sat at a table by the window and ordered. The menu was varied, from classic sandwiches and burgers to unusual dishes they hadn't tried before. They started with light snacks and then moved on to main courses. The food was incredibly delicious, and they were both satisfied. After lunch, they felt even closer. Jake and Sarah began to visit Mary's Diner more and more often. They became regular customers, and Mary, the owner of the diner, began to recognize them by sight. She always smiled at them and suggested they try something new from the menu. Over time, Jake and Sarah became Mary's real friends. They often came to the diner together, discussed their business, and just enjoyed chatting. Jake and Sarah helped Mary with various tasks, and she, in turn, was always happy to see them. So Mary's Diner became for them not just a place where they could have a delicious lunch, but also a real corner where they could relax and spend time in pleasant company. One morning, Jake and Sarah, as usual, stopped by the diner to drink coffee and discuss plans for the day. But Mary, who was usually already there and greeted the visitors, is not here today. At first, Jake and Sarah think Mary is just late and will be here soon. They decide to wait a bit, but time goes by and Mary still isn't there. Her friends start calling her, but the phone doesn't answer. Jake decides to find out what happened. He interviews local residents, looks into nearby shops and cafes, but no one knows anything. No one has seen or heard from Mary since yesterday. Sarah suggests contacting the police. Jake is hesitant at first, but then decides that this may be the only way to find out what happened to their friend. They tell the police about Mary's disappearance, describe her appearance and habits, and tell them that no one knows anything about her whereabouts. The police are launching an investigation, but so far to no avail. No one knows where Mary might have gone, and no trace of her presence in the vicinity has been found. Jake and Sarah are feeling increasingly worried and confused. They can't figure out what could have happened, and they start building all kinds of theories. Perhaps Mary got into trouble, or was the victim of a crime. The police launched an investigation into Mary's disappearance immediately. They interviewed Mary's acquaintances to find out where she might have been, who she had been talking to lately, and whether she had any conflicts or unnecessary tension. The police also checked her home and business, looking for any clues that could help in the search. Jake and Sarah, concerned about Mary's disappearance, decided not to stay away and actively join the search. They used their personal connections and resources to obtain additional information that could help with the investigation. Jake began by contacting his old acquaintances from Mary's various social circles, friends, colleagues, acquaintances in hobbies and interests. He was trying to find out if anyone had seen Mary lately, if they had heard of any strange events or conversations related to her. Sarah, on the other hand, decided to explore the financial and business aspects of Mary's life. She contacted her business partners to find out about any unusual operations or changes in her life that could point to the causes of the disappearance. For example, Mary could have cashed out a large amount from her bank account. Together, they also explored social media, viewed surveillance cameras in the area where Mary lived, and communicated with local residents who might have seen or known something. The clues Jake and Sarah found led them in different directions. They were checking out places that might be related to Mary's interests, talking to people who might be related to her, and trying to piece together all the pieces of information to understand what had happened. Their efforts were not in vain. They found new evidence that helped the police in their investigation. Thanks to their perseverance and willingness to go all the way, the investigation had new leads and search opportunities. Jake and Sarah began by carefully examining the surveillance footage. They noticed that on the recording someone approaches Mary and starts a conversation with her. It seemed strange to them, especially considering Mary's disappearance. The profilers they contacted used special tools to analyze the behavior of the faces in the video. They noticed a few suspicious details. 1. Unusual behavior of a person approaching Mary. Experts analyzed the movements, gestures, and facial expressions of the person on the recording and found inconsistencies in his behavior, which could indicate that he was not just talking to Mary, but was trying to convince her of something or even forced her to do something. 2. Background and environment analysis. The experts examined the situation around Mary on the recording, paying attention to details that could indicate an emergency situation. For example, they might have noticed changes in lighting, unusual objects, or people in the vicinity. 3. Comparison with other records. Experts compared this recording with other recordings from surveillance cameras in the area to identify possible patterns or links to other events. This could help determine if this person had previously been seen in the vicinity of the area where Mary lived. 4. Expert interpretation. Based on all the data collected, the experts concluded that Mary was in danger, and her disappearance may be related to crime. They provided Jake and Sarah with a detailed report with evidence and recommendations for further action. Thanks to this, Jake and Sarah were able to reconsider their assumptions and start investigating in a new direction. Jake and Sarah carefully worked through all the leads and analyzed the data they received. They were examining evidence and clues that could lead them to Mary's whereabouts. Against the background of all the data, including the map of the area, friends became interested in an abandoned house on the edge of the city. After many hours of searching, Jake and Sarah moved into the mysterious house. The young couple's dressing was justified. Mary was found. She was sitting on the floor, her legs and arms were tied, and there was a gag in the girl's mouth. Friends noticed that Mary was in a very poor condition. Jake carefully approached Mary, so as not to scare her or harm her even more, checked her condition and tried to calm her down. At that time, Sarah called for medical help and kept in touch with the police. Thanks to the joint efforts of Jake and Sarah, they were able to find Mary and provide her with the necessary help. The criminal, the kidnapper, was caught by the police pretty quickly. He did not take into account that Mary remembered him, and with the help of photographic work, the outdoor cameras figured out the villain by 1 or 2. At that moment, when the criminal was trying to eliminate Mary, she felt fear constrict her body, and her heart was pounding in her chest. She didn't know what to do, and she was sure that the situation was hopeless. What's going on? Who is this man? Why does he want to eliminate me? Mary's mind raced. She tried to remember every detail. She understood that every second could be the last. When Jake and Sarah came to the rescue, Mary felt incredibly relieved and grateful. She couldn't express in words her gratitude to her friends for such a meticulous search. The girl was sure that without them, she could hardly have been found so quickly. At that moment, she realized how fragile life is and how important it is to have reliable people around. After it was over, Mary couldn't come to her senses for a long time. She was worried about her life, about Jake and Sarah's lives, and about the future. She was afraid to remember everything that had happened, but at the same time she understood that she had to tell about what had happened so that the criminal could not escape punishment. Mary was gradually returning to her normal life, but the memories of what had happened would always be with her. She became more attentive and careful, but at the same time realized that there are people in the world who are ready to help in difficult times. The reason Mary was abducted was because of herself. One day, returning home late from work, the girl witnessed a crime. It was important for the criminal not to leave any witnesses. He found Mary and decided to kidnap her and then kill her. But thank God, everything turned out well and everyone in this story got what they deserved. Mary's best friends, Jake and Sarah, have strong trust in each other. The police realized that they shouldn't discount the help of civilians once again. I hope, my dear friends, your stories always end well. Subscribe to my channel, like and comment, because I always have the best stories. I hugged you, Olivia.